age of Twitter and social media have opened up a whole new world for businesses and individuals. Suddenly, overnight, a few individuals or even one person can criticize or take pot shots at your company or organization or you as a person, and literally millions of people may hear about it. So it raises a very important question. Are those who criticize us our enemy or potentially our friend? I'm Dr. John Izzo. I'm in the business of conversations that make the difference. And one of the conversations I'd like to have with you today is the conversation about how you can take your critics and not only use it to your benefit, but maybe even use it to improve your company and your organization. I want to tell you a wonderful story. A number of years ago, Clorox, the great consumer brands company, bought the license for Brita Water filters in North America. And as you know, those of you who use it, Brita Water filters are a great sustainable idea. Instead of buying bottled water, which is not sustainable, you buy the water filters, you filter the water, and you use the tap water instead of bottled water. But the interesting thing is there was a woman named Beth Terry who was an accountant in the Bay Area in Northern California who was a rabid environmentalist in her private life. She really cared about the environment. And one of the things she really cared about was plastic. She was really obsessed with the fact that plastic garbage was just piling up all over the world and in the oceans. And she was using Brita water filters for a number of years. And then she realized that she didn't quite feel 100% good about using those filters because when they were done, you had to throw them out and you couldn't recycle them. So she innocently wrote a letter to the CEO's office at Clorox, Don Knaus, saying, I use your Brita water filters. I really like them, but I think they should be recycled. The company sent a form letter back to Beth basically saying, thank you for your feedback, but the reality is that the recycling system is not set up in the United States and North America to take the Brita filters, so thanks, but no thanks. Now, to make a long story short, Beth Terry became a real critic of Clorox. She not only started sending letters every week to the CEO's office, but she got thousands and thousands of other people through social media to start sending letters. Eventually, she started getting people to send her Brita water filters, and she would send them by a courier by the thousands to Don Knaus's office personally. But here's the interesting thing. Unlike what many companies would have done, Clorox, instead of seeing Beth Terry as a critic, actually called her up. The head of marketing called up and said, Beth, you know what? We know what you're up to, and we'd like to talk. And the interesting thing is it began a series of conversations between Beth Terry and Clorox. Eventually, she and the CEO were personally corresponding with each other. And Don basically saying, Beth, I'd like to do the right thing, but we really don't know how to do it. Eventually, in part through this collaboration with Beth and all the thousands of people who had been criticizing Clorox, they worked out a deal with Whole Foods and then eventually with other suppliers to figure out a way to recycle the Brita water filters. But here's the interesting thing. Not only did they grow the brand, but Beth Terry became not only an author, but an advocate for the great collaboration that happened between her and Clorox. She went from being an enemy to be one of Clorox's best friends. So here's the real message. Not everyone who criticizes you is your enemy. I love what Beth Terry said to me. My goal was always to make Clorox a better company, not to make them unsuccessful. So remember, sometimes your critics can be your best friends. I'm Dr. John Izzo. I'm in the business of conversations that make the difference. We'd love to hear from you at the bottom of this screen. How have you collaborated with someone who is a critic? How do you think we can more effectively, in fact, take these criticisms and even those who criticize us as potential friends, not as enemies?